All right. General introduction to Python programming. Now, we actually register for Python for data analysis, not for pure Python programming. But um, we consider the fact that how can you use a language you don't understand its fundamentals to analyze, to manipulate data? So because of that, what we normally do is to teach us the main language, at least to an extent, before we start applying it in data analysis. So the whole of today's class, it has nothing to do with data analysis. It's pure Python programming so that we can understand what this programming language is before we can start using it for analyzing data. So we are going to start with the definition. So what is Python as a programming language? 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 So by definition, right, Python is a high-level, Python is a high-level, interpreted programming language. I want us to underline those keywords. High-level, interpreted programming language that is widely used for various purposes. That is widely used for various purposes. That is widely used for various what? Purposes. Are we together? That's what? Widely used for various purposes. So what are some of these purposes? Such as web development. So even in website development, we use Python. Web development. So we are going to know as we proceed shortly what we can actually do with Python in web development. So that is one of the application of Python, scientific computing. Scientific computing is another area of Python application. Data analysis, of course. Now you can see the reason why we are learning it, right? Because it also pertains to our field, which is data what? Analysis, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, and more. So these are some of the key areas you can actually apply Python. Now, one of the main reasons why Python seems to taking over out of other languages is because of its robust library. It has a lot of library customized for different areas. So like this web development now that we mentioned, there is a customized library called Django, Django. That is the library or the framework Python created for web developer to implement their backend instead of using PHP, instead of using Node.js. So that is Python version. Now, of course, we are going to know how it's related to what? Data what? Analysis, because that is the major reason why we are learning. Now, the generative AI that is also reigning today. When I say generative AI, I hope you understand what I mean.
Like
Chat GPT, Chat GPT, right? All these are generative what? AI model. They are used to create what? Content, to make research. Now, all these are built with what? Python. So that is the artificial what? Intelligence aspect of it. And it is that artificial intelligence aspect of it that make us to adopt it as one of our tools as data what? Analyst. For the machine learning, you are hearing, outside data analysis, you are also hearing what? Machine learning. Good. Now, let's quickly look at the key features of Python. Now, we'll now begin to know why is Python everywhere. The key features of Python. The key features of Python. The key features of Python. Key features of Python. Now, another word for feature is what? Attribute, right? Characteristics, right? Good. Now, number one feature is easy to use. Number one feature of Python is easy to use. So Python is very what? Easy to use. And that is the reason why you notice everybody is tilted towards it, because it is very what? Easy to use. Very easy to use. Unlike other programming languages that we know out there, like C++, Java. These programs, they are old programming languages, but they are still thriving, actually. Now, as if they are totally what? Out of the system. They have also incorporated AI. They have AI in them. That is why they are still standing. Now, what I'm saying is that what it takes for someone to be a Java developer compared to what it takes for someone to be a Python developer is not the same in terms of stress of learning this program. Python is very what? Easy to learn. And that is why you see everybody today, they want to learn a programming language, Python, not because of its efficiency. Some are running into it just because it is easy to learn. So it's not just because it's better or it's more powerful than others. It's the reason why everybody wants to learn it, because it is very, it works almost the same way, or it is similar to the English language. So once you can speak English language, you should be able to learn Python without stress. His own code syntax, the mode of writing its code, is very simple compared to other programming language. Now let's write something about this feature. Right. Python has a simple syntax. Python has a simple syntax. Simple what? Syntax. So what do I mean by syntax? In programming, once the word syntax is used, it means set of rules that governs code writing. So in the course of the training, anytime I use the word syntax, I'm talking about the rules, the standards for writing what? The language, or for speaking the language. So when we say it has a very simple syntax, and what? It's not cumbersome, its own code writing format is very simple for what? Someone to understand. So that is one of the attributes that makes it very what? Easy to learn. Continue. Python has a simple syntax and is relatively easy to learn. And is relatively easy to learn. Command, making it a great language for beginners. Making it a great language for beginners. Making it a great language for what? Beginners. Are we together? Yeah. Now, let's look at
So as someone who is actually breaking into programming language for the very first time, it means that such a person will find it easier with what? Python, because of the simple word syntax when it comes to writing its code. Now, let's quickly look at the second feature. The second feature is high level. High level. High level language. So Python is what? High level language. So what makes it high level language? Right. Python is a high level language. Come on. Python is a high level language. Come on. A high level language. Come on. Meaning. So what does that term mean? When you say a program or a programming language is a high level language, right? Meaning it abstracts away many low level details. It abstracts away many low level details. It abstracts away many low level details. Command, allowing you to focus on the logic of your program. So there are a lot of things that the low-level language detail captures that Python has already taken care of. So this time around, instead of you focusing on those things, Python have already taken care of them. So you are just focusing on what? The logic of your program. And that is one of the reasons why it is referred to as what? High level. Are we together? Okay. Now, let's look at this, the third feature of Python. All these I'm trying to give us a strong foundation on Python so that you know what it is. So you now see why it is actually what? Everywhere. Look at all these attributes that we are highlighting. So the next one is interpreted. Interpreted language. So Python is interpreted language. What does that mean? Python code is interpreted line by line. Python code is interpreted line by line. Python code is what? Interpreted line by line command, making it easy to write and test code. So that is what we mean by what? Interpreted language. Python code is interpreted line by line, making it what? Easy to write and test code. Now, let's quickly look at the fourth one, which is called OOPS. So this represents objects, object-oriented programming. That is what this particular term represents. Oh, object what? Oriented what? Programming. Are we communicating? So what does this term mean? When we say a programming language is what? OOP, or object-oriented. What are the attributes? Right. Python is an object-oriented language. Python is an object-oriented language, which means it organizes code into objects. So you underline that organizes code because that is what makes it an object-oriented language, which means it organizes code into what? Objects that contain data and functions. That contain data and functions that operate on that data. So you can see that it is this aspect that actually what makes it what applicable in our field, data what analytics. So I want to say something here. I want to break this down because it might look a bit logical. When programming started, that is why if you ask those people that learned programming 40 years ago, if they are still alive, ask them, you will see that what we are doing is chart play. They are just like the professors of today. When you hear, why is it that Wole Soyinka is still reigning after all these upcoming professors, but the man is still reigning? Because what earned him that particular title? His own time for you to read, for you to have access to resources, to be able to earn that. It was difficult compared to this era. This era, we are in the era of internet what age, which is what information what age. You don't need to leave your house before you access what resources on the internet. So you can even make research and become a professor overnight. Copy and paste. But those days, they have to travel all the way from one city to another to visit different libraries just to get some material to read. So what I'm saying is that if you bring a programmer of 30 to 40 years ago and you compare it with a programmer of today, they are not the same level. Now, what I am saying is that those days when programming started, across all the languages, if you want to store the whole of this laptop, all the features that made it up in the program memory, which is called the cache, through different storage like variables, you have to start acknowledging the mouse. Inside the mouse, you acknowledge all the what properties inside it. You are creating different variables for each of these, just because you want to capture all the properties or the components inside this particular word objects. So that when it's time for programming, you need any of this value, you can retrieve them from the stored variables. Because in programming, what we call variables are containers that we program to store what, or to allow us to introduce external data into the program so that those data can be used for the programming purpose. For example, now, as we are going to see probably towards the end of the class, if by the time you want to develop an app with Python, that will display to user, my name is Egwero Prosper, and I am from Delta State. What about you? Let's assume I want to develop a simple app with Python, because Python is for creating what? Applications. Now, you will notice that for me to develop that app, I will need some data. I need Prosper to be stored, right? I need Egwero to be stored. Because if you look at that expression, I mentioned my name is what? Egwero Prosper. So I will need these two data to be stored in what? Python what? Memory. And how am I going to introduce them into the what? The Python memory? With the help of what? Variables. So I'm going to create variable to store Prosper. I will create another variable to store what? Egwero. So that when I am writing that function, that app, I will say what? Variable 1 plus what? Variable 2. Call me the value stored in there. And that what? Variable 1 will output what? Prosper. Variable 2 will output what? Egwero. And then my statement will now be complete. Now, what I am driving at is that you can see that I have to start storing different parts of Prosper, right? Now, but today, we are not doing that. That is why you see that today apps are faster. The application we have today, recently you notice most of these Nigerian banks were updating. Like Zenith, when they were doing their update, almost 2 weeks, the servers was down, right? All the banks were doing upgrade. I think that was late last year, right? What happened is that they introduced different applications that will make their services what? Faster. Then they have to integrate those systems into the old system. And that is why they have to apologize to you, because the process will pause some of your transaction activities. Now, what I am saying is that instead of you storing each of these laptop parts, the keyboard, the mouse, the video, into different variables, today you can just store the whole of this laptop as an object. So when we say object-oriented language, it means that what? Instead of that, the whole of this can be seen as what? an object with what? Properties. So anytime I want to see the whole properties in the laptop, I will just call laptop object. And then inside that laptop object, I will see what? The keyboard. I will see what? The mouse. I will see all the various what? Parts installed, stored inside it. So that is a simple way I can break it down. When we say a language is what? An object-oriented. It can store things as what? Object. Okay. Now, we still have another Python feature, which is one of the main reasons, as I'm concerned, that is everywhere, which is what? Large standard. Large standard library. Large what? Standard library. Large standard libraries. Now, right, Python has a vast collection of libraries. So that's the reason why it can fit into any domain, because it has library for each of these domains. I said what? Python has a vast collection of what? Libraries and modules that makes it easy to perform various tasks, such as networking and data analysis. So you can see the whole of Python involvement in data analysis is depending on what? The libraries. Did you understand that? When you say you analyze data with Python, you are simply saying that what? You are leveraging on libraries created by Python, where you are now accessing functions. I think we need to define what is library. Right, note. Libraries in programming represents a storage of functions. Libraries in programming represents a storage of functions. Yes, represents a storage of what? Function. So where certain functions are collected and stored, it is referred to as what? Library. So when we say Python library, who can now interpret it for me now? When we say Python library, what does that mean? When we say Python library, what does that mean? Where Python functions are what? Stored. Now, we as data analysts, when we call our data, we will now import the library, because the library is what will give us access to where we can get function, which we are going to use to either what? To either clean up the data, or what? To structure the data, or even what? Analyzing the data. So as a data analyst with Python, you are going to be looking for what? Library that will offer you the function you need. Good. So these libraries are of different category. So when we get to that aspect, we are going to know them, so that you know the focus of each of them and why you should involve it when you are what? Analyzing. There are libraries for just data analysis. There are libraries for machine learning. So the machine learning you are hearing can actually be done with Python. Python is the one that leads, Python and R. These are the two leading programming languages for machine learning. Now, is this same Python you are using for data analysis? This same Python you are going to use for machine learning. But when you are using it for data analysis, you will be consulting different libraries. But when you are using that same Python for machine learning, you will now be consulting what? Different what? Libraries. There are customized library for just data analysis with Python. There are customized library for just data analysis with what? Machine learning. So it's all about reaching out to what? Different what? Libraries that comes as a package of different what? Functions.
So how do you know where to go?
You will know. That is why you are here, sir. That's what you register for. So we'll show you. We'll show you when we want to analyze it and I want to do something. You will see me going to consulting what? One of the library and calling the function from there. Good. So now, So let's go back to that feature that says what? Last standard what? Library. When I started, I mentioned that there's also a library Python has provided for back-end website development called what? The Django. So you can say Python created a module, created a library for that field. So what Python is doing is to be creating different library for different domains. So that's why you see Python everywhere, like other languages. They don't have library that can fit into other places except their main domain. In data analytics is there. Even in cyber security, you need Python. You see it? It's everywhere. If you look at the name, snake, Python, you know, you don't know when it will get, you can see it here today, the next day now, even the next one, I say the next day, the next second, you see it over there. So that is how it's penetrating. So it is this Python that is the heart of this AI that we are hearing. It's the heart of it.
Wow.
It's the heart of it. If you take Python out now, no AI. So you learning it in your program, data analytics, is an advantage. Because if you are learning any program tomorrow, like cybersecurity, that require Python fundamental, you already gotten it. So you can learn any language, any platform that uses Python, because you have what? Learned the intro from this class. Any questions so far before we go to the next topic? We are through with what? The keywords, features of what? Python. Can we just run through them? Let's mention them again. Number one is what? Easy to learn. What makes it easy to learn? Simple word, syntax, right? Number two is what? High-level language. Why? Because it interprets its own line by line, right? Now, number three is what? Okay, number two was a high-level language. Number three is what? Interpreted language. Number four is what? Object-oriented. And then number five is what? Any question before we look at the next topic? Any question, please? So if there's no question, our next topic is basic syntax. So here we want to start looking at. Sorry, before I look at it, let's look at what? Python IDE. Python programming, so that you can start downloading, because we are going to install some of this software today. Python programming IDE. Python programming IDE. Python programming what? IDE. Yes. So let's start by knowing the full meaning of what? IDE. The full meaning of IDE means integrated development environment. Integrated development environment. That is the full meaning of IDE. So how do we define it? Right. These are customized applications or platforms. These are customized applications or platforms. These are what? Customized applications or platforms for code writing or programming. For code writing or programming. For code writing or programming. Are we communicating? Now, a simple analysis of this is this. Look up. So when you want to type letter, which application do you consult? When you want to type letter, let's say a company says you should submit application letter, type one. Which app do you consult? Word. So MS Word becomes your ID. It becomes a platform that allows you to write tests. Right? Now, you as a programmer, when you want to speak Python, which platform do you use? Do you write Python code or MS Word? The answer is what? No. So you need what? An IDE, an integrated development environment, an environment that allows you to develop code, to create app, to create something. So every programmer, whether it's a Java programmer, whether it's a JavaScript programmer or Python programmer, need what? An ID. You need an ID. Yes. So the question is this: when you go for an interview, sir, they might ask you this kind of question. You know Python for DA, right? Say yes. Which IDE do you use to implement the Python? So we have our own.
For DA.
Yes, for DA, for data analytics, which is not for what I want to be for what? Main app development.
For Django also.
Yeah, yes, that Django is the interface. No. That Django is a framework. So you are going to implement that framework on an IDE also. So let's continue. So example of this, I think I've defined what they are, right? Example of this, number one is PyCharm. PyCharm. PyCharm, that is one of the first Python programming IDE. Py what? Charm. Am I communicating? PyCharm. Let's define it. A commercial IDE. So I will just focus on the ones that matters. A commercial IDE developed by JetBrains. Brain. Known for its advanced features. Known for its advanced feature. Known for its what? Advanced feature. Command code completion. And the code completion. Completion. To complete. Code completion. And debugging capabilities. And debugging capability. And debugging capability. So now, but for we as data analysts, we are not going to use this. We are not going to use it, but in case maybe in the process you want me to show you how it look like, I will show you. But one good thing about writing Python code, if you write Python code on any of these IDE, they are compatible across other IDE. So the way you write, the syntax you use in writing Python code on PyCharm is the same thing with other IDE. So it is just left for you to choose anyone based on probably your priority will be based on what you use it for. Good. Now, the next one is Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. Right. A free open source code editor. A free open source code editor. A free open source code editor. Are you with me? Developed by Microsoft. So it is Microsoft that created this. Developed by Microsoft, which support Python development through extensions. Which support Python development through extension. Which support Python development through extension. Through extension. So if you are using this one, you have to install Python extension. Now, but for there are other ones there, but I want to jump to the one that matter to us most. The next one is Jupyter Notebook. And then once I've taken this, I'll stop there. You can research on other ones. Jupyter. Notebook. Jupyter Notebook. A web-based interactive environment a web-based interactive environment for working with Python code, a web-based interactive environment, a web-based interactive environment for working with Python code, comma, particularly useful for data science, underlined, so you can see this, you can see how this one is directly mentioned in our field. Particularly useful for data science and scientific computing. And scientific what? Computing. Particularly useful for data science and scientific what? Computing. Am I communicating? Now, one of the advantage of this, why we choose to use, why this is recommended for us, because it's user-friendly. It works like an application. You hardly know that it's a development environment. You think that it's like MS Word. It's very user-friendly. That is the reason why it's recommended for us. So now let's quickly go to the installation. So at this point now, I will have started the installation since, but I wanted us to know where the installation is coming from. So what are we about to install now? IDE, right? Because now you know what is called IDE. Now you now write Python, just write application or software to install for Python data analysis, subheading.
Application.
Yes, application or software to install for data analysis with Python. So if you want to use Python to analyze data, then you need to install some app in your system. Hope we are following. Right. To analyze data with Python, install the following apps. 1, Anaconda. 1, Anaconda. So let's quickly define it. Anaconda is a free and open source distribution of Python and other data science tools. Anaconda is a free and open source distribution. A free and what? Open source distribution of what? Python and other data science tools. Paragraph. It is this. Are we together? I said it is a free and open source distribution of Python and other data science tools. Full stop. It is designed to make it easy to install and manage packages. It is designed to make it easy to install and manage packages, including Python, R, and other data science libraries. So it's just like a server. It's going to provide, it's going to make give us, it's going to offer us an experience that looks as if we are on the internet. So it comes with an engine at the background that is running all these libraries for you. Hope we are together. So it's a package. Once we install it, inside it, we'll get other library. Everything we need comes with it. So instead of you installing them one after the other, you can just install what? The Anaconda. And then that offers you what? These packages. So it's a package what? Manager. Exactly. So now we are going to install it. So to install it, just write steps on how to install. So make sure you have internet on your laptop. So as we are going, you are following the same step. Though it requires a very high system because it comes with over 200 or something packages. Not all of them that are installed by default. Some are installed, some are not what? Installed. So for us to install it, step number one, open a browser. Once you have connected your internet, as you are writing your step, I want you to also be following it. Open a browser, then search for, just say download Anaconda. Just type what? Download Anaconda. Download what? Anaconda. Download Anaconda. Are we together?
Yeah.
Download what?
Okay, so
Download Anaconda. Have we seen it? Good. So I'm clicking. So once you click, this is what you have. Then click on the first option that say what? Download Anaconda distribution. Let's click. So you will submit your email address. They will mail. Okay. So provide email to download. So remember that the email you are going to provide here is an email that what you have access to because you will log into that email and complete the download there. So, but if I don't want to look up here, supposing I don't have an email. This is just like they want to have your email for email marketing. So that tomorrow they'll be dropping some advert to your email as they offer you the free what? Service. That is their gain. So if you don't want that, just say what? Skip what? Registration. So that will just take you to what? Download. But if you want to, I think let's follow this option so that we can complete on time. So you have to choose your version. Are you downloading Windows version? And you need to check your system architecture, whether it's 64-bit. How many of us know how to check our system architecture? If you don't know how to check that, just click on the File Explorer here. Anytime you want to install an app that specifies your architecture to check so that you won't wrongly install what? The wrong copy. So you go to File Explorer, you right-click on this PC, right? And then you go to what? Properties. So from properties, you will now see the analysis of your system components. So from there, you will know whether it's a 64-bit. Can you see it now? So if your own is not 64-bit, then it should be what? 32 bits. So now that I've confirmed that my system is what? In fact, there is no even version for 32 bits. So it's only made for higher systems. So don't bother going to email so that the process can be fast. Click on skip. Click on skip registration. Yes, you can accept. That is, they are telling that what your information will be stored, how they want to make use of them. Okay. Now you click on this. Now the download have started. So let's click on download quickly. Yes, Windows copy because you are downloading on Windows. If you are using Mac computer, this is the version for it. If you are using Linux, this is the version for it. This one. Okay. Yes, click on it. Okay, have you clicked? Okay. Now I have already installed my own. So I'm just waiting for you to install. All right, let's continue. Once the download is complete, then we will now go back and run the installation. Now, how do you start it? Once you have done the installation, let's look at how to start the Anaconda. Quickly, steps. How to start the Anaconda. So we assume that the installation will have been completed at this time. So once I've installed it, how do I start it? So you simply click on the search box and type AN. Once you type AN, it's going to bring what? The Anaconda. AN. Now you have to be careful the one you are picking. Let me type it complete because that one that you are seeing there is not the main app. So Anaconda. So you have to type at least ANA so that you can see this one with this icon. That is the main app. But what I've done is that I have already pinned it on my what? My taskbar. So whenever I want, I'll just click here. If I want to see access it through this way, I can just click. So it will take some time to load because it's very heavy. Like I told us, it has over 200 plus libraries or packages. So once it's open now, we will now look at Python variable. So that we'll be writing our code as we are discussing them. It's coming. It takes time. Though it also depends on the system speed. Let's keep monitoring the download. Once it is ready, let me know. We can set the installation running while we are still coding. You can see it's just coming up now. So if you did not know now, you keep clicking on it. So you have to wait. Once you have said it, once you have clicked on it once, just relax and wait for it. Let's keep waiting. All right, so this is how it will open. So you can see all the library. Look at the Jupyter notebook that we mentioned. That's inside this package. So in other words, while you install that app, this is Visual Studio Code. Most of the libraries, they are here. Some of them are already installed. Like these ones are not installed here. At least if you need them, you install them from here. But the one we want to use is already installed, which is what? The Jupyter notebook. It's already installed. So it's still loading. So what we are trying to assess at this moment now is the IDE, an environment where we can develop what? Or write Python code. So we are getting the environment or the app from Anaconda. That's the reason why we first of all install what? Anaconda. And inside Anaconda, we will now access our IDE, which is what? The Jupyter what? Notebook. So your next step, now let's look at what? How to launch the Jupyter Notebook steps quickly. I don't know the step we were writing before. You can just say. How to what? To launch the Jupyter Notebook. Step number 1, open the Anaconda app. Open the Anaconda app. Step number 2, click on the launch button and wait to open its directory on a browser. And wait to open its directory on a browser. So let's also wait for it to open. So the same thing, once you have clicked once, you hold on. Hope your downloading is still in progress. One is complete. Yeah, go to your download, click on it and start installing. Open it up. Go to your download folder. All right, let's proceed. Let's proceed. Let's proceed. So you can see that finally it has opened on what? The browser. So it will open. That is why if you look at the definition of the Jupyter Notebook I gave to us, can somebody go back there and read it out for me? Just to qualify how we define it. How did we define it? A web-based application is an application that open on a browser, right? Where did it open now? On a browser. Now, this is the directory I'm talking about. This is the directory. It's just like the storage where you can connect to different storages. This is how it will open. So the next thing we want to learn now is how to set up development environment quickly. Now we have been able to open what? Jupyter Notebook. So how do we set up development environment with the Jupyter Notebook? Is the next topic. How to set up development environments on Jupyter Notebook. Now, I want you to be writing at the same time you're observing what I'm doing on the screen. Step number 1, create a folder on desktop. Make sure you are following what I'm saying. Create a folder on what? Desktop. So let's name the folder as Saturday's class because I will continue with this folder for all our classes. Saturday _ class. So you start by creating a folder. So all your analysis, everything you are going to do, your data should be in what? This folder. But because we are not analyzing data now, probably till next week, That is why I don't want to talk about bringing data what inside here. But for now, just create a folder on desktop. Then you now go back to your Jupyter Notebook directory. Hope you are writing your steps. Once you have created a folder on desktop, okay, you are not writing. No. Say what? The next step is what? Go back to Jupyter Notebook directory. You know, we minimize it earlier on. Directory. And click, look up here. You know, this is where you created the folder, right? Good. Supposedly you created the folder on documents. That means that is where you open, right? So you double click on it. Look at this place now. This is where you can see your directory structure, where you are. So if I double click here now, what has happened? It means that what? Now we are in what? Desktop. Now on desktop, you now look for that folder that you created, which is what? Saturday class. Let me keep searching for it. Saturday class. Saturday class. Good, this is it. Now you now double click on it, which means that what? Right now you are inside the folder. So make sure you write this step, because once your own comes up, I will ask you to repeat the steps. Okay, are you following? Okay. So now we are in the folder directory. And what are we doing? We want to set up our coding environment in what? Jupyter Notebook. Now, you will now go to new. Now you want to create a notebook now. Click on new. Click on new. Make sure you are seeing where I am touching. Click on new and select Python 3. So now you are installing, you are creating a notebook that is already configured with what? Python 3 in that folder. That's what it is. So once you click here, it will add it as a file. Now, automatically, see what happened? It now prompted another new word. I didn't click. Now, this is what? Our notebook. This is where we are going to be loading all our data. This is where we are going to be writing our Python word code. Okay, what was the last step? Read it out for your notes. Good. Click on what? New and select what? Python 3. Which will automatically prompt you to the notebook interface. Which will automatically prompt you to the notebook interface. Which will automatically prompt you to the notebook interface. That's where we are now. Now, the next thing is how to name your notebook. So I think we should put it this way: notebook management, instead of so that topic will come out from that topic. Notebook what? Management. So you're right, there are some basic skills you should have regarding to management of the notebook. There are some basic skills you should have regarding to the management of the notebook. Regarding to the management of the notebook. Such as, number one, how to name the notebook. Number one is how to name the notebook. How to do what? Name the notebook. Are you with me? How to name the notebook. Now look up. Step. Can you see this that is showing on title? That is where you click. Once you touch it, it will bring out this. Please, you can only change that area that is highlighted. Anything that comes after the dot is the language extension. You must not delete it. So I will just add my name. Let's say what? First class. First under. If you are using two words, please always add what? Underscore in Python. So first class. Then I'll click on rename. Okay, then I'll click rename. Now check that place that was shown on title. It has what? Edited. So that is one skill you need to have. Let's look at skill 2 you need to have. How to write comments. How to write comments in Python. notebook. How to write comment. So we will now start by knowing what is a comment in programming, not only for Python. Whenever you hear a programmer saying comment, what does that mean, right? A comment is a narrative text. A comment is a narrative text. A comment is what? A narrative text just for code explanation. Just for code what? Explanation. Just for what? Code what? Explanation. So we use comment to just explain. I think it has completed. Just click. Yes. Most of them are written. Start reading. All right, so let's continue. So I was describing what comments are, right, in programming. Now look at it here, so you know why you need comments. And I want us to learn with that habit. Any programming language you are learning, learn to be using comment to what? To be differentiating what you are doing per session. Because by the time they employ you tomorrow, it's going to be division of labor. You won't do everything. At some point, you do something, then pass it on to what? To the next person. When it gets to that person, how will the person know what you did? Without you coming to explain to him. So use comment. When you want to do something, use comment. Like now, we want to create variable, right? I will use comment to say what? I am creating what? Variable. So comment is just for explanation. The program does not execute them, does not acknowledge them. They are just there for you. Now, how do you comment in Python? You press Shift and 3. You see that hash? Shift and what? 3. If you want to zoom up your environment, just Control plus, Control minus to zoom in and what? Zoom out. Control plus is to zoom in, while Control minus is to what? To zoom out. I just want to bring it so that we can be seeing what I'm doing very well. It shows something there. Close that environment. Are we together? Now, yes, that hash is the comment sign. Look at this here. If you type something here now, and you run it now to throw error, just watch, you see error. Yeah. Why is this showing error? Because what? This is a string. And if it's a string, it ought to have been quoted. It has to be in what? In quotation. So if I run it now, it's no longer what? Throw error. But if you did not quote it, Python will not be able to know whether it's a comment. Now, if I want to convert to comment, I will just press what? Shift and what? 3. So whatever I'm typing here now, if I run it, Python will not throw error because Python knows that what is a comment, and comment are not to be what? Executed. They are just for code explanation. So for example, what we are about to learn is what? Python variable declaration. So I'm using comment to be explaining whatever I'm doing. So that is how you should work. Am I communicating? Now, if I want to convert, if you have written that step, now let's look at how to convert comment to a note. How to convert comment to note, just put it under it. It's not a major topic, just like a subtopic from that. To notes. So number 1 step, type the comment line just like this. Write your step, write the comments. So this is the comment, right? That's your step 1. Then press escape and press M. Step 1, write the comments line, press escape, and press M. Once you press M, it will change it to what? To this color.
Press L.
M for mother. M. Are you with me?
Okay.
Then you will now press Shift and Enter. That's the last step. Shift and Enter. Shift. Shift and Enter. I believe you know all these buttons on your keyboard. Shift and what? Enter. Now watch out. Once I press Shift and Enter, so it's now what? A note. So this is how you make notes, like your observations after your analysis. You'll be using notes to be writing your question. Use notes so that your code will not be in the cell. Do you understand it now? Okay.
Topic. Variable in Python. So what is a variable? In Python, a variable is a name given to a value. In Python, variable is a name given to a value. So what is your major function? Paragraph. Variables are used to store and manipulate data given to a value. Comma, variables are used to store and manipulate data in a program. And manipulate data in a program. Now, let me explain the entire concept around variable as programming. Now, in my own way, I can put variable as containers which are used to introduce external value or data into the program. For example, now you want to program a code. I want to program a simple calculator that we add two numbers, and the two numbers could be 50 and 40. So the question I will ask myself, this is Python development environment. The 40 and the 50 I want to use, are they already inside the Python, or I have to what? First of all, what? Store them is into the Python before I can use it to perform the arithmetic calculation I want to perform. So the moment you notice that those values you want to use for that program, they are not A by default, then you have to introduce them through what? Variable. That's why we say they are container used for storing what? Value. Now, let's look at this simple example. Let's look at variable syntax. Right, variable syntax. Variable syntax. Variable syntax. Variable syntax. I have explained to us what syntax, right? That is what? How the format of writing what? Variable. Note. A variable has three sections. A variable has three sections, such as the naming section, the naming parts, followed by the assignment operator. The assignment operator. And then finally, the value parts. So these three parts must be observed in what? A variable. The naming part, the assignment part, and the what? The value. Now,
for example, this is what we are saying. So I'm creating a variable. So let's say we'll create a Python variable. Create a Python variable that stores two numbers. That stores two numbers. And use the numbers to perform. Write this statement too. To perform simple. To perform simple. To perform simple calculation. So this is a program we are asked to develop. Now we should create a Python code. Python what? Variable. Or let's just say what? Create Python variables. Since it's more than one, that stores two numbers and use the numbers to perform simple calculation. Use the number to perform simple calculation. So the first thing I'm going to do, so my variable one, my first variable, let's say what, is S. And the value is holding is 40. Now look at it here. You can see that this is the name. I told our variable has how many sections? 3, right? The naming part, the assignment operator part, and the what? The value part. So here is the name of the variable, which must not be a keyword. So when you are naming your variable, you must not use a name that has been used to store a function. So you have to look for a different name. For example, I cannot say print. Print is a keyword. A keyword is a reserved word in the program. That word has been used to store something in the program. So you cannot use it. Now, this equals to. It is not equals to. In programming, it is called assignment operator. In other words, it is the pipe that is used to store 40 inside what? S. In programming, equals to should give out what? 2, like this. If it is not 2 equals to, it does not mean what? The equality we know it to be in mathematics. So when it is 1, you call it what? Assignment operator. Are we following? Okay. So now I've created the first variable. The second variable is B, or let's say what? A. And that is to store what? 50. I'm trying to interpret the question. And the question says that I should use this 2 variable value to what? To perform calculation. So let me start with, I'll use comment here. So I'll start with multiplication calculation. So all this you do there, make sure you are writing them. You do all this before the next class. Multiplication. Multiplication calculation. So my multiplication calculation is to multiply the value of X by the value of what? A. So what I'm going to do is I can either create a variable and store the calculation result inside before I print the result. See what I'm going to do. Just stay on the screen first. So I will say what? Results or answer. I will say what? Answer equals to X times asterisk is your times in programming. Asterisk like this. This is your times, not that normal X times A. So do you know the expression? What we are saying is that what? This is a container. You are calling this container that the value inside this container multiply it by what? The value inside what? This container. The answer you get, store it in what? Ans. Then Python prints. Print is a function which is used to output the result. Python print what? Ans. Can you interpret what we have done now? A calculation will happen here, and the result will be stored what? In ans. Now, but you cannot just display it like that until you what? You wrap the variable that is holding the result inside what? The print method. So this print is a Python function which is used to output what? Result. So I want to see the result that this expression must have performed stored here through what? The print. So if I click here now, what did you see? 2,000. Did you understand it now? Okay, question.
So we're saying for us to say something is, equal to its assignment in this case.
Yes, equals to its assignment. Yes.
What you say equal to?
Equals to you used to. Yes. Or 3.
That equation now. You're not supposed to be 2 equal to. That equal to that sign.
Yeah.
After the answer.
No, what you are assigning, there's a calculation that will take place here, which is what? Multiplication of what? The value in this, right? The result will be assigned.
What about
no, if you put another, that we are saying that what? Ans is equals to what? Is equals to the result in X by what? The result in A. That's what you are saying, which is not right. Because here, no results. There's no way the value you have here will be equal to this. So let's quickly copy the whole of this. Hope you are writing, please. Now, yes, after this, you click run. And then that is for multiplication what? Calculation. So I want to do for addition so that you play with all this before the next class. So you perform almost all the simple arithmetic calculation with those 2 declared variables. So here, let's say what? Addition. Make sure you are writing everything. Addition calculation. So I'm still using the values stored in those 2 variables. So here I will simply say, what? Add. Let me use the name that describes the operator I'm using. Add is equal to what? X, right? Plus what? A. Then the answer you get will be stored in what? Add. So I will now say what? Print what? Print what? Add. And then I press enter. So I have it.
Is it when you press the print, this open and close bracket will appear? Or you have to go?
Yes, once you press the print, you manually open it now. Shift and 9 now. Shift and 9. To make sure you are documenting because you are taking everything home as an assignment. So your worksheet, so your notebook will carry all these things as you are coming back next week. Just make sure you are writing them in your notes. Now, let me show us another technique, how you can actually output your result without going through print. If I select this add now here, now if I type add, and I just run it, it will display the answer, the same thing. Without wrapping it in what? So if I select ans, right? Ans now, it will display the answer. Because we are using a notebook that is already built on what? Python. That is why not until we say print, it knows that once you call the name of the variable, you want to see the results. So this might not work in other framework like PyCharm. You just selecting the name of the variable. You have to wrap it in what? In print. But this one has been customized for us. That is why it's so friendly. Are we together? So let's also perform for division. I just want to do for the major operators. For division. Division cal. So for division, I also want to, let's say what? Division div equals to the value of S should divide the value of the value of A. So I will just run it, commit it. Then to see the results, I will just call what? Div, right? And run it. That's the results. I'm no longer using print now that I've shown us the fastest way.
What do we do?
I'm just calling the name now.
I don't click on print after that.
No more writing it. Yes, just call the name and run. So are you writing? Are you writing this? Okay. So let me just edit here. This is for subtraction, right? Let's do for subtraction. So subtraction, here we just be what? Minus. Then I run also. This is for subtraction. Then I will call what? The div again. So you have minus 10. I just fix. No, here will be solved. Here will be solved. Go together. So I would like to stop here. So what we are going to do is, so we have done variable, but let's create string variable because all these variables are number variable. Let's just create string variable before we close. So that next class, I will just start from data type. So let's look at string variable. Right, string variable. All this, make sure we practice them before the next class. String variable.
Declaration. String variable what? Declaration.
Right, strings are tests. Strings are tests. This data in Python. String are what? Text-based data in Python. Therefore, they are to be quoted when storing them in a variable. They are to be quoted when storing them in a variable with either single quotes or double quotes. They are to be quoted They are to be what? Quoted. Now, let's look at the example of it before we. So I'll say my name or name equals to. Now, you can see that when we were storing number in variable, we did not bring this. Look up. We did not do something like this because they are number. When you are storing number, in our next class, you understand more when we start talking about data type. Anytime you are storing tests in a variable, it must carry what? Single quote. So you cannot just store it like that. So if I want to print it the same way, if I want to print it, I will just say what? Print what? What will I print now? Name, right? And then if I run it, we call what? Prosper. So I said you can also just say what? You can just say name. You can just say name. And then run it. The same thing. But I don't want to wrap it in what? In print. Are we communicating? So this is a string. Anytime it can use single quote. I can create another person's name now. Let's say what? Name 2. Let's say name 2. Name 2. Instead of single quotes, I'm using double. It's also possible. The same thing. So I can say what? Eloho. And then run it. And then if I want to print both of them, I will just say what? Print. See how you can print 2 value. I'll say what? Name. That's the first one, right? Then I will now say what? Plus. The second one is what? What is the second one? Name 2, right? I'll just say name plus what? Name 2, and then I'll run it. You can see that is how. So if I want to print space in between them, I'll say plus. I will create empty space before I bring in what? Plus. That is what? There should be space because you notice that what? They are together. So if I run it now, and then I run what again now? Okay, so let me space it and run it. So I have space in between them. So that is how you concatenate space between. So we stop here, and then we continue from there in our next class.